Hello and welcome to another video on Adobe Photoshop. And today we're going to be talking about the brush tool of the main tools. So the brush tool is basically a brush that you can use to add colors in your picture or your component that you're editing. And as I've told you before that there are some multiple options inside some of the options over here, and as there is an arrow just beneath the brush icon, that means there are some other options over here. So let's talk about it. And as you can see that there is the brush tool, then there is the pencil tool, then there is the color replacement tool, and then there is the mix brush tool. So basically these are tools that you can use to add colors over here, and the hotkey for these brush tools are B, and the B from your keyboard actually. So when you use one of these tools, you can simply select each of them or separately, or you can scroll between them using the key B. So let's talk about the brush tool first. So the brush tool is the basic brush tool, and it's simply used to make some colors around here, and this is how you can do it. Then there are some options over here just beneath the main menu. As you can see that this option means the size of the brush over here, like this is on 88, I can change it to 50. Yeah, so now as I've changed this to 50, you will see that the brush stroke has become a lot thinner. Then there is the hardness. As you can see that the color has become much more solid. So this is basically the thing that you can do with the brush. You can customize it in any way you want. There are some brushes or gradient effects also like this, as you can see. So basically this is how you can work with this. It's pretty easy. You can also use some dry or dry light load, dry heavy load, moist. So these are basically the watercolor kind of brushes. So basically when you use brush, you use some different effective ones, like when you want to add some effect on your picture when you're drawing, you basically use a dry brush. Then sometimes you will need a moist brush to get another different kind of color. So you can use this over here. And then there is the wet percentage, the load percentage, the mix percentage, the flow percentage. So these are basically what you can work with. This is the angle. You can change the angle of the picture over here using the brush tools, this menu. So let me undo this because that's all about the brush tool. Now let's move on to the second tool, which is the pencil tool. And those of you who have used Windows for a long time in the past, you will know that this is pretty nostalgic over here because there is the paint tool in the Windows. So when we used to work on that, we used to basically use the pencil tool, and this is basically the pencil tool. As you can see, you can select the thickness of it also over here. As you can see, the size is now 1. I can change it. Yep. Now as you can see that this is the pencil tool. It gives you a much more sharp line over here. So basically you can create something in a picture. There are some modes over here: the dissolve mode, the darken mode, then the multiply, color burn, underburn, darker color, lighten, screen, color dodge, linear dodge, lighter color, overlay, soft light, hard light, vivid light, linear light, pin light, hard mix, difference, exclusion, subtract, divide. And basically you can use all of this in the brush option, so you can get some different effects according to the name that is suggested over here. Then there is the opacity option, which basically is the transparency of the color over here. So you can change the opacity using this option. I most of the time use 100, and depending on the work I'm doing, I change it. And there is the angling tool, the smoothing tool. So you basically can use the pencil tool for all of this work, and you get a lot of options over here too. So let me undo this again. Yes. So now let's move on to the third tool. So the next tool is the color replacement tool. And to use this tool, I need to use another image. So let's see. Okay, not this one. Okay, we're going to use this image over here. So the color replacement tool, as the name suggests, does the exact thing. It basically replaces the colors over one color. So for example, this is color green right now. I'm going to change it to another color. For example, bright red over here. You can select the color over here, and you can see the color coordination that you're using to make sure that if you want to use this color, you can basically use this coordination or combinations over here, and also the hex value. So the hex value basically contains all of the combination information over here, so that's much more easier to use. Okay, so you need to use the brush, because as you can see that it changes its color when you basically use the brush. So as you can see that it's now white, and when you're working in the color, then you'll see that this brush basically will change its color only through here. The add of Photoshop tool will try its best to see the edges or find the edges automatically, so the color can be replaced without any problem. So let's try. Okay, so right now what I can do is, okay, I'm going to use the color, and there are some options: hue, saturation, and luminosity. But I'm going to use color over here, and as you can see that there are some other options. This is the size of the brush that you're going to use. So I'm going to increase the size a bit, like this. Yes, because since this is the size of the alphabet or the color, I'm going to change the edge. Actually, I need a bigger brush over here. Okay, so I'm going to take that out, and then as you can see that there are some other options over here. You can also explore them and play with them over here, but most of the time I use the custom options. Then there are the limits, the tolerance, and the anti-alias option. Then there is the angling option over here. So I'm going to use the color red, and now I'm going to show you the painting. So as you can see that when I actually use this color around here, the add of Photoshop tries to detect the edges and keep its color like that. So when you're basically using this option, make sure that you find the edges or color the edges first, so that you can basically work on the middle without any problem. Now that I've done with that, let me complete it fully. So add of Photoshop will basically help you over here by detecting the edges so the color won't go out. But you gotta do it in a little more careful way, because when you're working, you simply have to change the color sometimes, like this. So as you can see that only the edge have been colored like this, and it is creating a very good effect. As you can see that it was green first, but now it has changed the color, right? Yes. So that is how you can also change the other colors over here. So for this, I'm going to use, let's see, green. Yeah. So as you can see that right now, I'm going to replace this color, and it's working very good. As you can see that the color has been completely replaced by the color green that I have chosen. So as you can see that this detects the edges immediately, which is very efficient for us. So sometimes you just need a little practice to know that where the color actually should be placed, or you have to find the edges with the brush so that you won't mess up. So as you can see that I have changed the color of two of the alphabets over here. Let's work with the O. So for this, I'm going to use the color blue. Yeah. So I'm going to use the color blue over here like this. I'm going to complete the edges first. Now that I've done with the edges, I'm going to complete the whole O right now. So add of Photoshop basically detects the edges and gives you the upper hand over here. So that's all about the color replacement tool. So let's move on to another tool over here. So let's see the last tool over here. And the last tool is the mixer brush tool. So what this tool basically does is it mixes the color with the one you have chosen over here. So for example, if I use this color over here according to the red line, you will see that there is a blue effect over here and it gives the faded effect of the color red and blue all together. It will does the same with the color green over here like this. As you can see, a very good effect over here. So you can also give some effect to this one like this and this one like this. Basically this will mix all the color like this. So as you can see that this is basically the mixer of colors. So this is the basic brush tools, and this is the basic work of the mixer brush tool. It helps you mix the colors, and there are some options available over here. Then there is the density, the hardness, and the size. You can choose the brush or the gradient brushes over here. There are some brushes available over here. Then there is the size option available. Now there is the color option available too. You can load a brush or clean the brush or load solid colors only. That is your choice. You have three types of options over here, and this is how you can choose the color, and you'll get the hex value over here. Then there are some two other modes over here which lets you work with the individual parts of the picture. And then there is the option of custom and the types of brush over here. Then there is the wetness percentage, the load percentage, and the mix color percentage, and the flow of colors percentage. Then there is the angling option over here. So this is basically the work of the brush tools, and we will see you on another lesson.